All right, everyone, we've got a lot of people joining us right now, so please feel free to join, get yourself a cup of coffee, and we'll get started soon. All right, we'll get started with the webinar. Today, we've got Nathan Shinn, the co-founder and chief strategy officer from BillingPlatform, here with us to talk about natural language reporting and search with AI. Something to know about AI is that Gartner recently came out with some interesting information. They said that by 2025, about 35% of large organizations will actually be naming a chief AI officer who's going to be reporting to a CEO or COO. I know we've been hearing about AI everywhere, but the fact that we're now starting to create jobs around this specific technology speaks volumes about how much it's going to be integrated into our daily lives going forward. In fact, Gartner is predicting that every knowledge job is going to be scrutinized and separated into individual activities and tasks. The most common impact is not going to be replacing anyone. I know that there's a lot of concern going around in the industry of, are people going to be losing out on jobs now that we've got AI? And the fact is, no, augmentation is what's happening instead of replacement of workers. So we shouldn't be treating AI as just a technology or business case. It's something that's going to start making us more and more productive. And with that in mind, BillingPlatform has been working really hard on making your billing processes more efficient. With that, we've got Nathan here with us today to go through and tell us a little bit about how we have been shaping the way that reporting is done. So Nathan's going to go through a little bit more backstory about what brought BillingPlatform's AI into production, how we're using it, and then he's going to show us some real-world demonstrations of the product itself and how we can use natural language reporting to change the way that you are doing your billing processes today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nathan to go through everything with you.
Right. Well, thank you very much. So what brought AI into BillingPlatform, or what prompted us to start incorporating this into our platform, is just because it's like any new technology. You want to get it out to your customer base so that they can have the best experience possible with your product. But the unique thing about BillingPlatform is that we have an architecture that lends itself to integrations with virtually about anything, but with AI, we can leverage also our metadata model so that we can get a lot more automation out of the system just based on things like a large language model. So in other words, instead of having to do the work to do a task in our system, now you can ask the system to do that work for you. So a starting point for us is search and reporting. So in other words, with our system, it's very robust in that you have full access to the system's data model. But learning the data model takes work, not just because of technical limitations. You may be a business user, and so you don't know how to use a reporting tool necessarily, or you don't know how to write structured query language needed to access a database. So not necessarily knowing the technical nuances of the data model, but also not knowing the data model itself. So you might not understand what all the tables in the system are, et cetera. We reduce that learning curve, in fact, eliminate it with artificial intelligence. Because with this first natural language search and reporting release, what's happening is we're able to expose our metadata, not your data, none of your business data, in this solution, but just our metadata, meaning our table structure, to a artificial intelligence model that's designed to convert your natural language to, as I mentioned before, structured query language, SQL. And what that does is it allows us to take just SQL, which has nothing to do with your data, from the AI, bring it back into our system and execute it just like anything else in the system would execute in order to pull data back for you. So you're pulling data back in the same way that you do every day when you're just pointing, clicking, and navigating through the application. But in this case, you're able to ask for it with just words. Let's take a look at the query and search tool in action. So what you're looking at here is a report visualization of some data, and then off to the side a chat prompt which allows you to speak to it as well as type in and ask for information out of the system. In this case, the visualizations built into it are allowing you to take that data and further pivot it or do other things with it. But you can just use it to simply search. So if I wanted to find the past due invoices, I could just type that in. And without having to write a report, the system will pull back the past due invoices for me. And in this case, I'm able to actually click on these invoices and drill into them. So this is acting like a search tool, but it's more scenario based in that I'm not selecting any prefabricated keywords or any pre-configured keyword searches. This is just based on something I asked the system. And so I'm able to click through, look at my invoices, and do whatever it is I need to do with those invoices that are past due. I mean, I can further qualify that with that are greater than 60 days. And so in this case, it's showing me my aging, and it looks like I have a lot of really long overdue invoices, right? And so what it's doing here is it's just now filtering for the ones that are greater than 60 days past due. Or if I wanted to ask it to show me all invoices with a balance greater than 10,000. It's thinking. All right. So now I have invoices with a it's showing me the grand total amount, and then the status that's not paid, and then it's not showing me the actual balance due though. So I want to ask for that explicitly. So I'll say greater than 1,000, greater than 10,000, include. I'm going to misspell this on purpose. The account, invoice ID, and balance. I'm the king of bad typing. So this is why we have our little microphone input capability, right? So it's giving me the invoice ID and the balance, right? And so again, I can just click on these and navigate into the record and do what I need to do. Or I can look for unallocated payments. So it does its best guess, and notice I'm misspelling things. It'll also, if I knew another language, I could speak that other language or type that other language in here, and it would understand that as well. But the power of this is immense, because what it does is it doesn't require you to understand the application navigation. So if I wanted to navigate to this payment, for example, typically that can take a little bit of learning and understanding where you would go to access that payment, because there's a few levels you'd have to drill down. Notice I'm on the account ledger. I've got Hopper's store as an account selected, and then I'm drilling down to the payment, and I have to know how to get there, With this particular interface, you don't have to know anything. You just have to ask for information. So this is all search capability, and it's scenario based. In this case, these payments are just sitting out there, and they haven't been allocated to any invoice, so they're not reducing the balance on any invoice. And so you'd want to find those and allocate their amounts to the proper invoices so that you'd have the correct balances for your ledger and for everything, keeping everything clean in your accounts. But you can also ask things that are more reporting in nature, like, let's say, show quarterly billings by product for 2023. And so this is doing something that's a little bit more aggregate in nature. So this is aggregating the amount of charges per product and by quarter. So it's taking this stuff, and this is something you'd normally have to have a pretty skilled report writer to put together for you, or somebody who's skilled in SQL. But you can just do it yourself here and just ask for the information. And then if you wanted to, say, pivot this information, by quarter, and then take this and do something like a sum of the charges and pivot that data. You can show heat maps of that data to kind of see where, kind of your high points are at a glance. You can then start to chart that data. So if you wanted to, let's say, have a stacked bar chart that shows all of the products stacked by quarter. And let's say there's a lot of small charges in here, so I want to kind of filter this down. You can filter the data, let's say, by greater than 100,000 or 1 million, and just apply this filter here, and you have a lot less data to look at. You can take the same data and, let's say, greater than this much. You can take this, and there's all kinds of other things that you can do with the charts here. If I wanted to export this, though, and then grab this and stick it, let's say, in a report, right? Then I can have that data available to me, and putting together a report or whatever. So a lot of things you can do with the system without any real skill or knowledge of the platform at all. And that's the idea behind AI. It's just to increase your business productivity, make your life easier for you, make it so that you have access to information without having to have knowledge of anything. Literally, you're going to be able to just use your imagination to think of scenarios that would just enhance your day-to-day business, make your operations run smoother. All those options will be much more available to you without kind of the overhead of orchestrating an entire initiative or project around things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nathan, for explaining that and showing us the demonstration. That's awesome to see. We seem to be having a little bit of trouble with our chat functionality here in Bright Talk today. So if you have any questions about the webinar itself, please email us directly at info@billingplatform.com, and we'll be sure to get you an answer right away. You can also check out a ton of great resources on our website, billingplatform.com, where you can see a complimentary podcast to explain a little bit more about how AI is shaping the industry, and a ton of other valuable resources, and just learn a little bit more about Billing Platform as a whole. But thank you again, Nathan, for taking the time today, and thank you everyone else for attending the webinar. We'll see you at another one coming up soon.
Excellent. Well, happy to be here, and thank you.